This could completely change the Spurs. A recent article has the Spurs making 3 moves in free agency that could take the Spurs from a lottery team to a playoff contender. We'll break that down, all 3 of these moves, and discuss how these guys can fit in to what the Spurs are already doing and those 2 first-round draft picks that we have. What's good, Spurs family? I'm Bryan Colbert, here to break down some moves that the Spurs could be doing. Athlon Sports dropped an article suggesting 3 very low costing free agents. Now, I want y'all to remember this. These are low costing free agents, and we are going to dive into that. But before we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that doorbell to be notified every single time we post, because like I always say, this is the best time of the year. So much speculation to be going on, and we are going to be doing all of that right now. And this one I thought was very, very cool, in particular, this Athlon Sports article, because so much is made of these 2 first-round picks, as they should be, right? These are huge picks for us, and I think the Spurs have a lot of value with their picks, but also their current roster, right? Which, when you have that, that means that you got to expect trades. There are stars on the move. We're hearing about Giannis, things like that. But when you are set to make those moves, even if you are set to pick high with that number 2 pick, you have to make sure you have that depth, and you have to get guys on very, very cheap deals, those vet minimum guys. So that's why I really like this article, because I feel like all 3 of the guys that we're about to talk about could be vet minimum guys and honestly fit right in to what the Spurs do and fill some of those pieces, right? Now, these are depth pieces. These are not guys that are going to make, star type impacts. These are guys that are going to give us much needed depth, because what did we see this year when our guys started to go down? The lack of depth we had, and the lack of guys that just are those true role players. We have guys that, had to play stars at one point, had to be those number 1 guys in like Keldon and Dev for the Spurs at times. We have a bunch of those guys, but we don't have a ton of guys that just play their role. So to me, what's really going to get the Spurs over that edge is the depth that they have, and having solid role players that we have not had in a long time. We have a very, very young team, and getting role players, getting these veteran guys that are going to take, a great deal that aren't going to cost too much, I think it's huge when you're trying to be successful, and that's what the Spurs are trying to do. And I think these guys all have abilities and value to be able to help all the young guys around, but also play crucial minutes for us. Not a lot of minutes, but crucial minutes. The first guy that they suggested was Kevon Looney, longtime Golden State Warrior. Now, all of us know how bad we need depth at that center position. As a big man, we need size. And to me, I think Kevon Looney checks so many boxes for what the Spurs do. Now, when we go through these guys, I want to know from y'all if y'all think you guys want these guys. And at the end of me breaking down each guy, I'm going to tell you if I think we should go get these guys and if I think they're worth adding to our roster. So now when we look at a guy like Kevon Looney, let's talk about the things he does well. Exceptional rebounder. He hustles. He attacks the glass. He does a lot in very little minutes, right? He isn't asked to do a ton for the Warriors. When he's on the court, he makes his impact felt, and that's why I think you've seen him be able to get contract after contract with the Warriors, be able to stay with them, and he's just somebody where everybody knows the name Kevon Looney because he's a 3-time NBA champion. He contributed to those 3 championships. Regardless of what you want to say, he was a contributor, and good teams need a Kevon Looney. He hustles. He's strong. He can protect the rim. He knows what to do, and he also knows how to put his guard in best positions. Like, he knows how to run a pick and roll offense, which I think is going to be a huge part of what we do, especially if we have 3 guards, right? Like, there's going to be a lot of that. And to me, he just does all of the dirty work. He does all the little things. And he's also somebody I think that can play alongside Wemby. He's somebody that, when we want to go big, he can be on the court with Wemby because he's an exceptional passer. He knows how to find the open man, and he does all of the little things you want him to do. And like I said, with his passing, he makes guards' lives easier. And I think that's why Steph loved playing with him. So when I look at a guy like Kevon Looney, I say yes. I say we get a guy like Kevon Looney because he adds those things that we have been missing when we talk about that depth for the Spurs. I mean, he does all of those little things, like I said. And I mean, he doesn't shoot all. I think he took 2 threes last year, which I know you guys all want shooters. But like that, I don't think that's what he's out here to do. However, his last 3 that he hit was in San Antonio against the Spurs. So I want to keep that in mind right there. But in all seriousness, like, no, he doesn't need to add much value on the offensive end. I think he would average 5 points a game this year, but it's the rebounding. It's the defense. It's being able to switch. He is a switchable guy. And to me, I just like, again, we're talking depth pieces, guys that'll come in and play those dirty minutes. I love what he brings. I love the championship attitude, the championship mindset. He knows how to win. And you see what impact Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul made in a very short time. Those are guys with championship pedigree. Not necessarily championship pedigree, but playoff pedigree, right? Like, they've been around the block. And to me, when you look at our young bigs, you look at a guy like Wemby, I think he can learn a lot from a guy like Kevon Looney. And I think he's one of those guys that's a culture setter, right? He comes into a locker room and sets a culture and sets a standard. And to me, like, those are the things, those little intangible things that really make me say yes on Kevon Looney. I'm saying yes on Kevon Looney. What do y'all think? Do y'all think he is a nice depth piece? I think, honestly, he's a better backup center than we've had in a long time. I don't know if he solves everything. I still think you look at this and say, maybe with that 14th pick, you go get you a big man, maybe trade for one. But I love what Kevon Looney can do because, again, I think he's going to be on a vet minimum deal. I don't know if the Warriors will be able to bring him back. They got some guys they have to pay. So we'll see, man. I really like this. Kevon Looney suggestion I really, really liked. And something I think that Spurs fans would love is the next suggestion, which was Luke Canard. You get that sharp shooter that you have been begging for. You get that three-point shooter. You get that 43% plus shooter. Like, I mean, you see this right here. He shoots 54% on corner threes. I mean, you gotta love that. You gotta love that he is a catch and shoot guy. And you gotta love that, you know, he is a role player. He does what he's supposed to do, and that is shoot shots. And I think Spurs fans have said it. We've seen you guys in the comments saying it. We need real shooters. You need consistent shooters. You know, maybe Devin Vassell hasn't been scratching that itch. Maybe Julian Champagnie hasn't scratched that itch. You know, maybe those guys, maybe even Harrison Barnes haven't scratched that itch of that real knockdown shooter. So when you look at a guy like Luke Canard, I can understand why they would suggest adding him to this roster because, I mean, he does do what the Spurs lack, and that is shoot three at a high rate. And one thing, too, he's coming off of a year where his points were down a little bit. However, he played more games than he had played for Memphis all season. A lot of that had to do with, you know, them just not really needing him, but also, you know, injuries and things of that nature. So he does on paper look like a guy that you say, you know what, 8.9 points a game, we don't mind him making a depth piece coming off the bench. But when I look at him, I originally am like, yes, let's get Luke Canard, right? Let's go get him. He's that guy. Oh, my gosh, he just looks like a Spur. But then I think about it, and I'm like, do I want him taking minutes from a guy like Julian Champagnie? Right? Now, Julian Champagnie does not shoot at as an efficient clip from the three-point line as Luke Canard. But we know the other things Champagnie can do. He can score in different ways. And he also, I don't think he's as much of a liability on the defensive end on Luke Canard. And that is what concerns me about Luke Canard at this point in his career. How often will we be able to have him on the court and keep him on the court? Yes, he's a knockdown shooter, but he is a liability on that defensive end. And in the West, especially too when you're already going to be guard heavy, supposedly, I do not know if he'll really crack the lineup a lot just because he can't play defense to the level that we're going to need him playing in that guard play. When he's playing at guard, it's going to be really tough for him not to be a liability. So as much as I like his shooting, I just don't know if I see him taking minutes from our other guys that maybe don't shoot as well, but could be on the team. We don't know what the team's going to look like, right? We don't know if Dev's going to be on the team. We don't know if Julian Champagnie is going to be on the team. They might get traded. I don't imagine Julian Champagnie gets traded, and that's why I use him as the meter. But again, I don't know if I want him taking Julian's minutes. He's younger. He's more athletic. Like, again, he plays better defense. So, to me, it's like, I'm going to have to say no on Luke Canard, y'all. And I know this is probably the one guy out of the three I'm talking about that y'all actually want to actually see value in. But to me, with the way the guard play is going to play out, to me, I think we're going to need to keep guys that can do it on both ends. You need guys that can play defense. And to me, I don't want liabilities on the court if you don't need them, right? And again, with a vet minimum type guy, he might not even play. Like, there might be a point where coaching staff says, you know what, listen, man, we can't even have him in. Like, we'll have him in when we really need a shooter, but like most times we can't have him play because he's a liability on defense. So to me, I say no on Luke Canard to the Spurs. I'm not with it. Again, even though he would be low cost, I just don't know where he fits in. And so I'm saying no on Luke Canard. I don't think that guys like this are going to be able to really compete at a high level in the West with how great the guard play is. And for our last guy, Torrey Craig, a very, very interesting Very, very interesting prospect because he is a 40, he is 6'9". He had size, he has athleticism. To me, he's like a poor man at this point. It's a poor man's Jeremy Sochan, right? Like he does that gritty, nasty work. He shoots above 35%, which is around the league average, so he can knock down a shot. To me, I like a guy like Torrey Craig when I think of the things he can add. And also, I love the fact that he's switchable, right? He can switch the 1 through 4 essentially in Torrey Craig. You can trust him to hit down an open shot. And again, he's not going to cost much at all. He's not going to cost much at all for the Spurs. And to me, like that is the huge thing when you look at these guys that you want to be adding in free agency, these extra role players. You don't want them to cost too much because those books are going to start getting a little heavy with these first round picks and these guys, especially if you bring in a star, if you bring in a Giannis, money's going to be a big deal. But I look at a guy like Torrey Craig and I think like he fits on any playoff team. Good teams have Torrey Craigs. I've said this about Jeremy Sochan as well. I think Jeremy Sochan is still developing into that. But great teams have Torrey Craig. Like have these type of guys that just do the dirty work, play defense, can hit an open shot if need to, but they're not there to really score. They're there to do the ugly stuff. They're there to guard some of the better guys out there. And to me, I love a guy like Torrey Craig off the bench for a lot of the reason why I like Kevon Looney. To me, he's a culture setter. Like when Torrey Craig's on the court, you know you're getting 110%. And to me, that's infectious. And to me, that's the type of example we need for guys. Like I love Torrey Craig as an example for Jeremy Sochan. I love him as an example for Keldon on just how to go. Like Keldon plays like that already. His motor's already extremely high. And like just imagine that like culture we're already building with the Spurs. I think Torrey Craig fits that tremendously. He's played on a bunch of teams, man. He is a true NBA veteran. And again, none of these three guys are very sexy. It's not very exciting, right? And they might not move the needle much. I actually think Kevon Looney can be very valuable for us. Do y'all feel me on this? Do y'all feel like we need to add some more of those vet minimum role player guys to really fill up that depth? Because to me, when I look at the Spurs team, we have some great pieces, but depth, oh my gosh, depth was so tough, especially with big men, right? Depth was very, very hard, especially towards the back end of the season when we started losing guys. So do y'all feel me? Do you guys want to add some? And maybe I missed some guys. Add in the comments who you guys think would be some good free agents to add, low cost free agents. I like that conversation. Let's have that conversation a little bit more. And maybe if I see the right comment, I'll screenshot that and a whole video will be made around that. And we can really talk about that. I want to see what you guys are arguing about. I want to see what you guys are thinking right now, because again, this is a fun time, but the funnest part of it is interacting with our Spurs Digest family. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that doorbell to be notified every single time we post, because we're giving y'all banger after banger. I'm Bryan Colbert, excited for free agency for the Spurs. Let me know what y'all think about these three possible free agents for the San Antonio Spurs.